All right, Wendy, let me thank you again for doing this, because you were right. You said that if I read the book, you were sure that I would want to talk with you on the basis of having read it. You were absolutely right. But I want to tell you that this is how I began to read the book. I opened to the pages with the pictures, and I looked at all of the pictures, and then somehow I was led to chapter 19 at the end of the pictures, and I started from there, worked my way back and forth and so on. And I want to tell you, it was a difficult book to read in the sense that I found myself trying to make notes about every single word almost. Every line was what I consider to be, pardon the pun, pregnant with meaning and significance. And so then I have a bunch of notes. I'm not sure how far we will get in the discussion, but sure. Thanks. Let me tell you, I start by where you talk about, it was a couple of weeks after you had announced that you were pregnant, and you were beginning to see the loss of endorsements and so on, and the looks on people's faces of disdain and curiosity and support. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the loss of endorsements, although you say later on that was small compared to other things.
Yes, with any personality, I think, who's attached to products, companies, etc. Any controversial occurrence in that person's life, regardless of what it is, will have some impact on that person or personality professionally, particularly as you are aligned to certain products. So I expected it, as I said, in the book, but it was something I was prepared to deal with. You know, the story is clearly the love of my child and my focus on raising him as a healthy human being, literally from conception. That's clear.
And then you talked about you talking with your sister in New York a couple of weeks later about the looks of disdain and curiosity, but some of support.
Yes.
So you're getting all these variations of responses to you having made this disclosure.
That's right. Now I want to say very clearly that I've always had a combination of responses to me as a public person, always. You know, pre the announcement of my pregnancy, there were many more vocally supportive ones, and then with something as controversial as me becoming a single mother, there will be very vocal naysayers, as it were. And my sister has always been fiercely protective of me. So I discussed that to some extent. You know, I have always been very good at separating public Wendy from personal Wendy in terms of the impact my image may have on me and the way I live my life. Now, who I am is not very far from my public image by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I did not become well known for anything in particular. I'm not a singer, I'm not an actress, you know, if you know what I mean. A great golf player. You know what I mean? Yes. So it's with a title like Miss Universe, it is your personality that carries you through to a large extent, but it's very carefully managed. And I've always been very clear that while I appreciate and accept the good and the bad that comes with being me, there are certain things that I will not give compromise on. But for those close to me, they're a little more exposed, like all well-known personalities, to some of your ugly, as it were. You know, my sister always knows. I mean, she can pick up in a crowd in nanoseconds someone who is like angling to just be seen with, or who's not genuine, long before I can.
You can do that.
And that's because she's observing. You know, similarly, people will say things to my friends or to my mother that they never say to me to my face, you know. And then the flip side of that is the adoration, the support is absolutely wonderful. I appreciate it very much, but sometimes it's insensitive to those very same people who are close to me.
Yeah.
And not meaning to be,
All right.
but it just is.
All right, and then here is where it begins to get tough for me, because you're writing here, this is page 130, the man's battle for custody of his child. You're
Yes.
talking about that at this point again. A woman with whom he had planned to share the rest of his life with. So you deal with that. My question is, why are you saying that? I mean, so you can't accept that then?
Well, always. I always accepted that. I don't think anyone gets into a marriage or a relationship with the expectation, that it will end. Even those who have prenups.
Yeah.
You know, that's insurance. You don't buy life insurance planning to die. You know it will happen at some point, so you take precautions. You don't buy car insurance wanting to get into a car accident. You just do so in the event that you do, you're covered.
Yeah. But what I mean is that, so you
so
are
I'm very much, yes.
understanding his situation regarding custody.
That's right,
battle
because
for
that's
his son
exceptionally
with
difficult.
another woman with whom he had expected to spend the rest of his life.
And that's why I can appreciate some of the difficulty my son's father, a lot of the difficulty, a lot of his internal struggle during that time, because that is an exceptionally difficult thing to deal with, a custody battle. No one wins. That is the one area of law, Andy, I can tell you definitively that no one wins. Not even the lawyers who may make good money off of you
So is
when
that
you
why
start battling for kids.
that's
You know
why
why?
you say-
Because it's impossible to divorce yourself emotionally from it, and that's why.
Okay.
Because you don't get into a situation expecting that it will end. It does end, and this is someone that you've had. Clearly, to be motivated to marry someone, you must share something, unless your parents arrange it. You must share a connection. And it's so remarkable the way human beings, all of us, I've done it, turn on each other almost, you know, and that is a very difficult, painful thing to deal with. But where a child is concerned, that is even more difficult.
But so often, I mean, you are pregnant with his child,
Yeah.
and so often, you know, you talk about the fact that you say in one point here, I'm committed to never going here with this man. And you say things like that differently along the way. You are always putting yourself last. You are considering his feelings, what he is going through, and so you.
Not putting myself last, you know,
Okay.
but I'm considering, yes, that the difficulty at that time, but very clearly, and I hope you get this
Okay.
by the time you get to the end of the book, that while I am considerate of that situation, I am not the root cause. I have contributed in no way to that ugly, and thus will not allow myself to bear the fallout, or yes, the fallout of the ugly of that
Yeah.
situation.
All right.
In very much the same way I treat with it as what it is, I would hope that there is reciprocity in relation to me. You treat with the situation as is, but hopefully you can move beyond that and engage me, take me on my merit.
Yeah, and we have to keep telling viewers who haven't read this book that you're writing this as a diary to your unborn son. You're
Yes.
talking with him all the time, and there are points in which you are dancing with him, you are playing with his stomach, you are playing music for him, all of that. But here you write, if he does not want my kindness and friendship, I will not take it personally. We will then focus only on you. You're
Yes.
talking to Ailan in your belly.
Yes, yes. And
What makes you say that then?
because at that point I felt that any relationship of a romantic nature with my son's father was over, and we should focus on raising an amazing, healthy kid. So, and that, my matter-of-factness can sometimes be misinterpreted as being cold and unemotional. It is not. It is just an assessment of the situation and making the best of it. You know, as my sister she always teases me and says, you know, when life throws you a few lemons, you don't make lemonade. You know, you throw in a little tequila, line your glass with sugar, make yourself a margarita.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not
So I
cool
will make the best, Andy, of a situation at the time, and the best is focusing on my child.
Yeah, but you're not cool and you're not unemotional, because several
Not at
times
all.
along the
Far
way
from.
you talk about the fact that you expected more emotional connect with him. You talk about
That's
you all
right.
being together on that buggy ride across New York. At one point, you had gone out one night, and
But because you have to appreciate, you know, like many people do in a state of confusion and flux, you have to appreciate my son's dad is exceptionally accomplished professionally. You know, this is a guy who did his undergrad at Princeton, started at 15, went to Oxford and did his doctorate as a Rhodes Scholar, and then went to Harvard Law School, was the second black president of the Harvard Law Review behind Barack Obama. I mean, this is not a guy who's used to flux and has very clearly mapped in his head the way life is supposed to happen.
yeah, but yet you find that he has self-esteem issues despite all these accomplishments.
Despite all of those accomplishments, and the fact that, and starts questioning himself like we all do when, you know, his ex-wife kidnaps his child and then puts him through a really ugly custody battle. You have to appreciate that this was not, before he met me, he had already been through a custody battle in the United States for my son's brother, and now this is being repeated in the Jamaican courts a few years later. So you start to question yourself, and his behavior towards me was very much a mirror of what was going on in his personal life. 1 minute there and amorous and delightful, and the next not. You know what I mean? So as I said, I do understand, and it was difficult, emphatically difficult to deal with, but I understood it. By the same token, as I said, I think I said this in the book, I will provide support because I appreciate this difficulty, but I will not subject myself to anything that I am not deserving of.
In about chapter 27, and I hope we'll get there. but there you are, left Trinidad, and you go to New York now, and you choose to go and stay by your sister Dee, and you say, she thoroughly investigates me, looking for signs of distress or unhappiness. And I ask, about what? About the pregnancy, about the disclosure of it in the way that it was, or about the relationship that is now on the rocks?
About the disclosure of the pregnancy primarily, because Dee, like most scorched Trinis, as I like to call our nationals living abroad who are missing home terribly, you know, reads all newspapers daily on the internet, listens to the radio stations on the internet, so she knows more of what's going on than I do. You know, this one, because I don't listen to my own media, I don't read my own media. I keep everything, you know. I create scrapbooks, you know, which I'll probably enjoy in my old age, but I don't read and
as a daily habit,
as a daily routine. You know, but my sister does, you know, so she's hearing all of this, and she's primarily at that point very upset.
Yeah, and she tries to comfort you by talking about, well, our blasé attitude, our indifferent attitude, and you say to her, well, Dee, you know, it's they're in shock.
You expect that, don't you? Because I compare my relationship with our nationals sometimes to my relationship with my parents or my mother or anybody else who loves you, reveres you. If you do something that is unpopular, not right in the opinion of many, they react. And once you have some time to think about it, you usually calm down and you move on.
All right. We'll be back in a moment. Our guest, Wendy Fitzwilliam, the book Letters to Ailan.